We see the attempted sludge catch onto Tinkaton unsuccessfully. Pat instantly puts up that protect shield, correctly showing up the overheat, and out comes Decidueye. I've had my reservations about Tinkaton, but it's time to see what it can do. Decidueye fires off the Spirit Shackle. It doesn't do much of anything. Pat goes to correct one Fairy Wind and the Play Rough. Play Rough gets no respect, and Pat will be controlling Switch. Welcome back to the channel. Today is League Rotation Day. Hallelujah, this last week has been absolutely dreadful. We've had Spring Cup and Master League. Despite Spring Cup going away today, we are taking one final look, thanks to my good friend Pat. A huge shout out to Pat, who's not only provided today's battle footage, but also provided the very good graphic on the left and today's thumbnail, leaving me only one job, and that would be shoutcasting. Despite Spring Cup going away, I think today is a great chance to give a very honest review on Tinkaton. I've seen a lot of people telling me it's absolutely fantastic, but I for one have my reservations. It's got a fantastic stat product. Its bulk pretty similar to something like Lapras, but unlike Lapras, it doesn't have a particularly good moveset. It's got one thing going for it, access to Fairy Wind, which is one of the best quick moves in the game. Think a mon like Florges, Jumpluff, Galarian Weezing, and then Fairy Wind user, usually pretty good. However, his main issue is his miserable charge moves. We've got Bulldoze, 45 energy for 45 damage that doesn't even get same type attack bonus. He's then got the very expensive Play Rough. Play Rough costs 60 energy for 90 damage. There's another fairy move that costs the same 60 energy, but would do 110 damage with a 10% chance of that attack drop, and that is Moonblast. Does it still have play? I have my reservations, I'll be honest. I think it might perform somewhat like Mantine and be very underwhelming. But I could be wrong, and I guess there's only one way to find out. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles! And in game one, Pat leads Kartana into Feraligatr. Today's team is a Meemore theme team. I'll let you decide, as we are running triple steel. The opponent say switches into Poliwrath, and we take our first look at Tinkaton. Our steel fairy typing means the counters are neutral, and the Scald or Dynamic Punch would also hit for neutral. And you can see just by tanking one charge move, the opponent has the ability to flip switch, and they are certainly going for that. Pat falls into the Play Rough. He's going to settle for the Bulldoze, but Bulldoze simply will not cut it. The opponent able to withstand the damage and get the option to realign. How important is alignment going to be in battle number one? I guess we're about to find out. We send out Marwile. Is this just an Icy Wind? It looks like it. Pat calls the Icy Wind, then snipes with Kartana, but Kartana's already found itself deep in the red. Out comes Superior. So I guess we could have RPS'd the opponent if we kept alignment. However, Marwile, with two shields, he's going to have to do the very heavy lifting. It looks like Pat, with two shields, looking to cheese his way through the remainder of the team. Back out comes Gator. Of course, we're going to be forced to shield up the Hydro Cannon, as Hydro Cannon will be moving us from the field of play. Pat going to be looking to spam that power-up punch as soon as possible, vamping up this resisted Fire Fang damage. The opponent unwilling to shield the power-up punch, and I think this is going to be game over for them. Marwile will be committing the final Protect Shield, looking for that full Fire Fang farm down. The Alligator looks to reach another charge move. They don't get there. Back out comes Superior, and once again we are baiting with a Power-Up Punch. Power-Up Punch forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. Holy moly, the Fire Fang's doing absurd damage. Pat able to reach the next Power-Up Punch, and we're off to a 1-0 start. GG's to that opponent. After battle number one, the jury is still out. Our fairy type lost switch advantage to a fighter and made that game a lot more complex than it needed to be. In the next battle, we see an atrocious lead. We see the immediate pivot into Tinkaton, baiting out Jellicent. So this is a type neutral matchup, so Tinkaton has its opportunity for some redemption. Play Rough does a little under 50%, but with the residual Fairy Winds, the next one will remove them from the field of play. Pat calls the Surf bait. However, the opponent is going to be able to outpace the Surf number 2. Pat going to be investing that Protect Shield, looking to realign. We shield up the Surf. Pat not baiting. Once again, full send in the Play Rough. Play Rough forces the Protect Shield. Jellicent is now going to be able to outpace to the next Surf. And once again, Tinkaton not able to control switch. This does now set up a nice opportunity for Kartana to farm down. And nice to bet out the Jellicent, so Marwile doesn't have to see it. We pivot into Marwile. Out comes Gliscopod. Pat going straight Power-Up Punch, looking to vamp up his oppressive Fire Fang damage. However, the issue is we're not really going to be able to cheese our way through this matchup. It looks like Pat putting all his hopes and dreams on Kartana, perhaps fishing for a boost. The opponent gets a massive Shadow Claw farm down. Back out comes Kartana. Pat finds himself in a tricky spot. Do you shield the X-Scissor or do you shield up the Icy Wind or Weather Ball? I think either move will probably knock out the very glassy Kartana. Kartana able to reach the Night Slash. Night Slash going to be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. This thing is such a glass cannon. I think whatever they throw will be removing us from the field of play, and Icy Wind does exactly that, and we take a heartbreaking defeat. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, Kartana is off to the races, staring down Lapras, the opponent's save switch, into Clafki, and Tinkaton hits the field of play. Pat wastes no time, going straight for the Bulldoze. Bulldoze in this matchup might be super effective, but you can see it really isn't that threatening. On the flip side, a neutral flash cannon is something that we will be respecting. Pat correctly shields up the flash cannon. We're then going to see Pat very nicely over farm before firing off the Bulldoze, looking to remove Clafki from the field of play. Bulldoze picks up the knockout. If Lapras does return, we've got residual energy good to go. Back out comes Lapras. Pat going to full send the play rough, looking to do maximum damage. Oh god, that was very, very underwhelming. If you're going to expend 60 energy, you'd expect a decent dent in an opposing Pokemon to play rough. Didn't really achieve that. The opponent fire off the Sparkling Aura, attempt to snipe with a Moongus, but Tinkaton still not done. Going to fire off the Bulldoze, and it is Marwile time. This game already looks signed, sealed, and delivered. The opponent doesn't even commit to the sludge, which is a huge mistake. Pat can just save his shield for Kartana, and this one is signed, sealed, and delivered. The opponent might have two shields, but unfortunately for them, you cannot shield Razor Leafs or any quick move for that matter. The opponent looks like they've given up. They recognise the game's over, and they're going to gracefully concede the match. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see Kartana into Galarian Weezing. Pat going to opt to stay in. Looks like he's going to attempt a sludge catch onto Tinkaton unsuccessfully. The opponent farms the overheat, and we see the instant shield deployed. Pat invests a huge Protect Shield, and out comes the Decidueye. Tinkaton hasn't really been able to flip switch advantage to this point in the video, but you can see Tinkaton insanely bulky, tanks that Spirit Shackle no problem whatsoever. Pat then full sends a play rough, rocks the Decidueye into the red, and just like that, we take back switch. Despite Bulldoze not being a good move, this is certainly a matchup where having access to that ground coverage is very nice for us. The opponent makes a very questionable play, shielding up the first Bulldoze, which is certainly something you don't want to do. Bulldoze does have a coin flip, 50-50 chance of getting the defense drop. We force the opponent all shields down, send out Kartana, get overheated to the face, and Marwile hits the field of play. The opponent doesn't farm back up to the overheat. They settle for the debuff sludge, which really doesn't do much of anything. The opponent then stays in, enable Marwile to get the full Fire Fang farm down. They then concede the match. I'm guessing it's something like Ferrothorn in the back. Heading into the next battle, we see a great lead. Well, actually, I might take that back. Our Razor Leaves are hitting for neutral. Their poison jabs are single resisted. But Kartana, you forgot your resistance, buddy, as these poison jabs look like they're super effective. The opponent fire off the Acid Spray. We then see the Simul swap of Tinkaton into Lavani. Tinkaton so advantageous here. Leaf Blade and X's are both going to be resisted. Pat tanks the Leaf Blade. Full sends a Play Rough, anticipating the no shield. Play Rough isn't quite lethal, but in this situation it's probably even better for us. It's just going to set up a nice Fairy Wind farm down afterwards. The opponent reached the departing Leaf Blade, getting a slow, which once again is even better for us, leaving minimal farm for the likely return in Tentacruel. The opponent actually reluctant to send Big Squidward back into the arena, reveal their third, which is Gliscopod. Gliscopod gets hit in the face with the Play Rough, which the opponent shielded. We then go for the wham bam combo play. Fire off the Leaf Blade, force the final Protect Shield, and it's now going to be a 2-shield Marwile versus the world. Marwile hits the field of play. The opponents stay in, looking to fire off the Aqua Jet. Of course, Pat's shielding. Tentacruel also dumped this energy, so I think Marwile is just going to do what Marwile does best and cheese its way through the remainder of the team. Pat going to invest the final Protect Shield. I'm not sure if we can Fire Fang farm down. It doesn't look like it, so stay in school, kids. Learn to count. Pat sacrifices the low health Tinkaton, and that is going to be the final nail in this opponent's coffin. Back out comes Tentacruel. Iron Head resisted damage, but easy enough to get the knockout. We get the screenshot for the road. Fire Fang farm down Gliscopod, and we will be emerging victorious. In the next battle, we see Gastron on the lead. The opponent took just 3 Razor Leaves and lost like half the HP. Oh boy, trainer, if you're looking at a Razor Leaf with your Mud Boy, just instantly pivot. It's so not worth staying in. Out comes an opposing Shadow Mile while Pat looks to call back. No, we get nuked with the Iron Head through 2 Protect Shields. Oh gosh. I don't think there's any chance we can win this battle. If you've got a Mud Boy in the lead, you must have a counter to a Grass type in the back. Let's see. It's Kartana with 2 protect shields. The opponent's got their own Razor Leafer in the back. Pat gonna fire off the Night Slash, which of course the opponent is gonna shield. We're gonna get double resisted, Razor Leaf farm down, and despite hard winning lead, we will be taking a defeat. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see the battle of Grass and Steel types. Ferrothorn into Kartana. There's actually one matchup, but you can actually tank a charge move, especially when the opponent goes straight for a Power Whip. Power Whip will be double resisted. Although I say tank it, it's probably still going to get us below half health. This thing is so bloody glassy. I can't wait for Shadow Kartana to be released. I wonder if it even survives a single Incinerate. Poor old Kartana. Gonna lose the 0 shield matchup. Getting removed from the field of play by 2 double resisted charge moves, which is kind of crazy. Out comes Squidward. We see the pivot into Tinkaton. Tinkaton going to go straight for the Bulldoze. And in matchups like this, you can see just how bad Bulldoze is. Despite being super effective, it looks like you need 3 to remove Tentacruel from the field of play. The opponent able to land the Scald. Tinkaton going to spam out yet another Bulldoze. Bulldoze still doesn't get respected and will never ever fare when farming down either. Pat not getting much help from the RNG gods either, going 0-2 on them coin flip defense drops. Out comes Gator. Marwal with 2 shields, going to look to cheese its way through this team. The opponent correctly no shield the first power up punch. Oh boy, Marwal, I don't think you've got this one, buddy, but let's see what you can do. Pat going to be forced to shield up absolutely everything. Again, correctly going for the power up punch as soon as possible, just looking to vamp up this Fire Fang damage. Can the opponent reach double charge moves? If they're doubled up here, that Fire Fang doesn't knock out. Opponent fire off the Hydro Cannon. Oh, they're not doubled up, but they are able to reach the departing Hydro Cannon, and unfortunately this one is going to end in defeat. GG's to that opponent. Couple of tough games there for Pat. Let's see if he can get his triple steel team back to winning ways. In the next battle, we see the non-shadow Tentacruel. Can you believe it? Kartana are actually tanking these single resist poison jabs reasonably well. Pat opts to shield up the acid spray. Bit of a questionable shield in my opinion, but we're going to let Pat cook. Pat going to return fire with the Night Slash. Night Slash isn't lethal, but able to Razor Leaf farm down afterwards. Out comes Cacturn. We see the pivot into Tinkaton and go straight for the Bulldoze. If I was the opponent, I actually wouldn't shield this, but most Cacturn users love to shield everything, and this opponent does exactly that. Dynamic Punch would do a lot. Pat with a Stone Cold no shield. The opponent go for the Trailblaze. They continue to stay in. So what the heck is in the back? We fire off the Bulldoze, forcing the opponent's final protection. They send out Ferrothorn, and oh boy, uh-oh, trainer, you're in trouble. Bulldoze hits for neutral, doesn't do much of anything. That Bulldoze actually does less than a single Fire Fang. Marwal hits the field of play, waste no time, going for the power-up punch. We get a huge amount of lag, which can only mean one thing. The opponent has rage quit the app, so this opponent is running an ABB team. With water, double grass, where they're double weak to fire in the back. The opponent didn't pivot out their lead, looked to bait out the fire type, and hence they're going to get crushed with a very, very brutal defeat. GG's regardless. Heading into the next battle, Kartana into Galarian Weezing. Last time Pat attempted a sludge catch. Let's see if he goes for the same play. He doesn't look to catch the sludge, but the opponent does go for a sludge, which is single resisted. Oh my god, Kartana! How are 5 Fairy Winds and a single resisted sludge, which costs 40 energy, put us deep into the red? Kartana then gets resisted, Fairy Wind farm down. We send out Marwal, but this Galarian Weezing has so much energy. Pat going to respect a potential overheat. We get baited with yet another sludge. Are we going to double shield Marwal? Perhaps call her on Brutal Swing? Oh fuck, we get overheated to the face. Oh no, Pat, gonna respect the overheat. The opponent's shown it. I think we're kind of forced to shield. We correctly shield the overheat. We're down to protect shield, and out comes Venusaur. I think this one is definitely going to end in defeat. I think I'd top left here. Pat has the same idea, and we're going to pretend that battle didn't happen, and we're going to move swiftly on. Kartana into Decidueye. We see the pivot into Tinkaton. The opponent bank a boatload of energy, and Marwal hits the field of play. Marwal going to be greeted with the Bulldoze. Bulldoze is a garbage move, but Marwal is insanely glassy. Is this Marwal on Fairy Wind as well, or am I going mad? I think they're definitely on Astonish. I just can't really see it. As it's 4 AM in the morning, I'm shoutcasting this before work. Pat going to make a play at taking back switch. Unfortunately, we get baited with the power-up punch, but undeterred. We go for one further Bulldoze, forcing the opponent all shields down. Get there, Tinkaton. Come on, little buddy, Tinkaton. Maybe I was wrong. Tinkaton able to take switch and get a shield advantage. Decidueye comes back in, gets the astonished farm down, and it is Marwile time. Shadow Marwile hits the field of play, the opponent with a lot of energy. Spirit Shackle does have a defense drop chance, so Pat gonna tank the first. Not that you can tank 2 moves. The opponent then send out Galarian Wheeze in. We have got a shield advantage. Can Pat still win this game? The opponent gonna go for the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing almost does all of our HP, but Kartana just about able to reach the departing Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade rocks the opponent into the red, and it's CMP. And I think Pat might be home and dry. The opponent fire off the Brutal Swing. Marwile looks for that Fire Fang farm down, which we're able to get. Pat gonna reach the Iron Head, and just like that, Pat is gonna bounce back to winning ways. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle. Let's hope for a better lead, although I'm not really sure what leads we're looking for with Kartana. Quagsire perhaps? We see Mantine in the lead, something that's definitely going to be problematic for us. Kartana not going to fancy his chances, and Marwile also does pretty poor. We say switch into Tinkaton, ironically our one Pokemon. Let's got play into Mantine, and out comes Gliscopod. I wouldn't be surprised to see Pat invest in Tinkaton, recognising it's going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting in this battle. We shield up the Aqua Jet, return fire with yet another Play Rough. Play Rough able to move them from the field of play. Out comes Clafki. I think Pat's got to kind of save this, perhaps pivot back out into Kartana. Yeah, I love this play. We bait back out the Mantine, and just like that, we're going to actually get the alignment we want. The opponent went for the classic U-switch, I-switch. We're able to Razor Leaf this Mantine in a range where Tinkaton should put in work here, and no one move will knock us out, especially not when the opponent go for the aerial ace bait. Pat able to reach the Play Rough. Come on, trainer. Just save your shield for that Clafki. I promise it's good against what's in the back. The opponent does exactly that. Back out comes Clafki. The opponent looks to dump energy. Pat instantly knows shields, and he already knows this game's in the bag. Foul play isn't lethal. We send out Marwile. We can just shield or whatever they throw. I don't even think they've got the energy for a flash cannon. But this bait will not save this opponent's fate. We Fire Fang farm down and take that game. Very, very nicely played. Heading into the next battle, Kartana into Squidward. You'd think this is a good matchup, but we've already seen numerous times throughout today's video. It's not as good as you would like. Last time Pat got baited with an acid spray. He looks to call the acid spray. We get scolded to the face, which was supposed to be resisted, but of course we get one shot, as essentially everything knocks us out. We send out Tinkaton. The opponent pivots into Lavani, and Lavani is immediately hard punished by Marwile. Marwile tanks the Leaf Blade, deletes them in the blink of an eye. Back out comes Tentacruel. I think here Pat should always Iron Head, as the opponent's never shielding this move, and Power Up Punch doesn't really do much of anything. Marwile able to reach the departing Power Up Punch though. This Power Up Punch probably knocks them out, and I doubt the opponent's shields have got hardly any HP. Although what do I know, the opponent does shield the low health Tentacruel. Pat recognises they might have something else. Weak to Marwile on the back. Shields in return, gets the Fire Fang farm down, and out comes Ferrothorn. Marwile on almost invisible HP, but still going to put in work. Holy cow, them like 3 Fire Fangs got them into the yellow health range. And out comes Tinkaton. Flash Cannon hits for neutral. The opponent full send the Flash Cannon, but Tinkaton far too tick. The opponent recognise they cannot win that match, and they run for the hills. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, the absolute dream lead. Stinky Binky. I was thinking of what do we want to see in the lead, and the answer to that question is this stupid thing. Pat recognises the opponent staying in such a god-awful matchup, they're likely got something else that doesn't want to see our Razor Leafer. We pivot into Tinkaton. That Moonblast did absolutely pitiful damage, and out comes Gliscopod. Gliscopod going to be greeted with the Play Rough. Play Rough forces the Protect Shield. The opponent farming up an absolute bucket of energy, allowing Tinkaton to reach Play Rough number 2, which gets them into the red health range. Pat still with 2 Protect Shields, but if you shield once here, you're going to be forced to shield twice. The opponent is going to reach double charge moves. Pat actually elects to let Tinkaton go down. He sends back out Kartana, farms up, makes the catch, back onto Marwile, recognising Kartana is likely our win con. Marwile able to get the Fire Fang farm down. If Carbink does return, which it does, it's time to Iron Head him to the face. Iron Head, double super effective damage. Come on, please land, get that Carbink off my screen. Out comes Superior. The opponent recognises they simply cannot win the match, and they concede. GG's, and thanks for playing. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's shoutcast. A huge shout out to Pat for not only providing the battle footage, but also the graphics and the thumbnail. So time for an honest review on Tinkaton. Yeah, I'm quite underwhelmed if I'm being honest. I don't think it's going to be meta defining. It's certainly going to have some play. If you're a trainer like me who hasn't hatched a single egg and don't have one, don't worry, I don't think you're missing out on all that much. If you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, a link to a battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thanks to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.